everybody. Welcome to another story time when girls talk books. I'm Susie.
And I'm Kylie. And today, we are doing a really exciting book. This is very popular, and I'm going to just start out the gate. I get why. For sure. I get why.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I think we've decided we're also going to be doing an episode on the sequel. Yes?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. I want to do an episode.
Absolutely.
I was obsessed with this. So we'll start off. Hold on. Before we say anything, we have a couple laundry list items. First of all, Susie's now a married woman.
I did it!
So I'm very excited about that.
I'm excited to not be planning a wedding anymore.
Yeah.
And crying to you about all the little problems that I didn't know I cared about.
Meh.
But yeah,
It's
we
a
made it
stressful
through.
time. Yeah. But it was very beautiful, and now she's married.
Mm-hmm.
And it was wonderful and great, and I sobbed my eyes out
She
several
was
times
a
that
wonderful
day.
maid of honor, y'all. She did a really good job.
My speech was pretty good.
It was so good.
But we're very excited. So I wanted to say that. I almost said it in the last episode because you were getting married, but you hadn't yet. So now,
okay.
officially,
Yeah, it's all real
Susie is
now.
a married woman. It's very exciting.
We waited a long time for this day.
No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. And then next episode, we will be having Mr. Shanup on.
Yes.
And my husband as well.
Yes,
So,
the boys are going to join us.
yes, very exciting. Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that before we
No,
started.
I like that. Thank you.
Star rating,
5.
5. Easy.
Well, I mean, if there's one thing I could change about this book, so I guess it can't be a perfect 5, because I just wish it wasn't always YA.
Yeah, but it is.
Yep, so I will give it a 4.
I'm going to give it a 5. Because, like, if you're going into a YA book, you can't be mad that it's a YA book.
That's true. I didn't realize for
Oh,
longer
yeah.
than I should have, and then I was like, oh.
You're in, like, Zodiac Academy fantasy world where this is not.
No.
Not.
No.
Susie wants spice.
Yeah.
And this did not have spice.
I've just begun my smut era. And
She's getting pretty comfortable.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I still gave it 5 stars. I was
Yep.
obsessed.
Completely.
Obsessed
I
with
loved the
this.
storyline. I loved everything about it. It was a really good book.
Kai. Prince Kai. He is. This is my book boyfriend list. He's here.
Wow.
He's so. I loved him so much.
Same. I was like teetering about Kitt because I was like, I feel like you're gonna go crazy.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we start with Paedyn and Aedena, and they are best friends. They live in what's called the Loot, and they don't have any money. Aedena does like seamstress work, and then Paedyn just steals from people. That's like her job. And they live together. They steal. She brings it back to
they're like
Aedena.
both orphans together kind of situation. Like they
Yes.
don't have anybody else.
Yes, which Paedyn is an orphan, and I think Aedena is too. So those are kind of two, and then we also have Prince Kai and Prince Kitt. Kitt is the heir to the throne, and then Kai is the enforcer. Well, he's the enforcer.
That's true, yeah.
So that's where we start.
He's a professional killing machine.
Yeah, literally. But they're two very different lives.
While still both being princes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it happens in everyday real life. Two siblings can grow up in a home and have two totally different experiences in a home.
Yeah, and we learn a lot about like the king's treatment of each of them is very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we get into there. So then we have the elites and the mundanes.
Yes.
And every year there is a trial that happens.
Yes.
The Purging Trials.
Yep.
Very Hunger Game-esque.
Okay, I was like, so you don't sound like a hater. I'm like, it is, and I'm not saying in a bad way, but this book was very like a little bit of that and a little bit of like other Harry Potter-ish vibe.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And
I got
really
a lot of Hunger
liked
Games.
it. Yes.
Yeah. So there's the trials every year. A lot of the elites have already kind of been known that they're going to be in the trials, and this is like royal families, people of high society, essentially.
The hoity-toities.
Yeah, and then they pull out some mundanes from like the loot and things like that.
For some razzle-dazzle.
For some razzle-dazzle, I guess. And the mundanes just like don't have the kind of abilities that elites have. Elites are very powerful people, and the mundanes are just kind of, I can't
Can
say
you imagine
ordinary.
to have those kind of powers? I'll be like, oh, I'm just a mundane. Like, all I can do is read minds. My sister over here can burn cities. And you're like,
Yeah, it's very much like that. But you can't even call them like ordinary, because then the ordinaries, the people without abilities,
the muggles,
have been shunned from society, from this society.
like getting exterminated, kind of is the way they're being treated. Like,
Well,
just
yeah.
terrible.
And if they're found in town, they essentially send Kai out to kill them, is the way this happens. And this is kind of new. This is like within their lifetime. Pretty sure.
Sad.
It doesn't seem like it's very old. We come to find out that Paedyn's ability, she is a psychic, which she's actually an ordinary. She doesn't have any abilities, but her dad has taught her how to like train her brain to like pick up on things. Have you ever seen
Made
Psych?
her like a professional con artist, kind of.
Exactly. Have you ever seen Psych?
I don't think so.
Okay, so
I mean, add that to the list of things I've never seen. Like,
True. But he like says that he's a psychic, but he really just like picked up all this stuff from his. Hold on, I just saw it. Like, it's the same thing. His dad was like a cop or an FBI agent or something, and so he taught him to like read people essentially, or like there's a dust on there with a fingerprint, and he'll like pick that up, and then he says that he has these psychic abilities. It's exactly the same thing. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it. But anyway, so Paedyn is a psychic, but she's not a psychic.
right.
She's just an ordinary, but she's very good at reading people. So if anybody was to ever question her about it or anything like that, she can like say, "Oh, I'm a psychic, and here's something I can tell you about yourself."
She can like BS her way out of it.
Yeah.
She's a professional.
Like the cop guy that's in town, and she's like, "Oh, you're getting divorced," and da, 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 da,
Yes,
da.
that
And
was interesting.
That was really good, and then he ends up hitting her, which she kind of anticipated. But anywho, so that's Paedyn's whole deal. Kai is just, he can mimic other people's abilities.
That would be so cool to have. I'd be
That'd be
all
crazy.
over that.
But what I was thinking about is if he's by himself, he has nothing.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary.
Yep. Which is kind of like almost makes you ordinary. Like,
That's kind of what I thought. Yeah. I don't remember what Kit's ability is.
fire.
Fire. Good job, Kitty.
Yeah.
So Paedyn is on her daily thieving route, and she sees Kai, and he's walking through town, and she sees him, and instantly it's like, money.
Yep.
He's got money. He's got like swagger, whatever. His shirt's like unbuttoned or something. You know, he's a broody guy.
Yep.
And her whole spiel is she, especially with men, like pretends to fall or something. It's
Play
like,
stupid.
and is, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just so
Oh.
clumsy. Da, 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 and then she steals from them. And that's exactly what she does
Surprise, surprise.
to Kai. And he says, hold on, sorry. Do you always fall into the arms of handsome strangers, or is this a new thing to you? Okay, hold on. The things that Kai says are just like...
In real life, if someone said that, we would like punch them. Be like, shut
Yes, absolutely.
up.
First of all, yes, absolutely. I would be like, nope, don't like this.
Yeah.
I actually think you're ugly. So, but in the book, though, it's great. I ate
The
it
banter.
up so bad. This is one of the things. I was so in love with Kai by the end of this book. Kind of, sort of.
Throughout the story.
Throughout the story, yeah. But anyway, so they have that moment, and it's very like, ooh, he's looking at her, and he gets so distracted by her that he doesn't actually realize that she's stealing from him until she's already gone.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, and she's like, do that, and she gets a lot of money from him. That's the thing.
That's
like,
true. It's like more than she gets in a month. from
exactly.
other people.
It was a lot of money. And then she takes off, and she's like so excited to tell Aedena, and so on and so forth. So then we cut to Kai, and Kai is on a job from the king, and there's a girl named Abigail who is living in the loop with a family of mundanes. And he goes and is like, I hear you're holding an ordinary. And they're like, no, we're not.
They were acting so innocent, too. And I'm like...
Oh, agreed.
Even I was starting to believe it. And then when he got to the part about the porridge, I was like, no, come on, just be stupid. Just look the other way. Like,
there's got to be another way. Well, he, like, sees an extra bowl, and he's like, no? Not an extra person in
here? You
sure
about that?
So he ends up finding her. I think she's, like, under the floorboards because, of course. But there's a little girl named Abigail, and it turns out the family ended up taking her in when she was like 2 or something.
They had her for a while.
Yeah, they found her on the streets. And it's this whole traumatic thing. He gets into a fight with the dad.
A big fight.
Who's a brawny, and so like he has super strength, and it's a whole mess.
They're like Hulks, kind of.
Yeah. But they end up taking the family to like the desert. Is what it is, and essentially you've been banished, and good luck surviving.
You're gonna die out there.
You're gonna die, yeah. If you can make it to the other town, great, but the odds of you making it over there are pretty slim. And they also don't have any supplies, they don't have anything. It's just like, go ahead. And he takes Abigail, and he takes her out. He's supposed to kill her.
And he cannot.
He cannot kill her.
I don't, unalive children.
He doesn't kill children, yeah. And what he ends up doing is taking her to the same place where he knows they're going to be, and they end up going as a family.
Which was as sweet as he could be for that.
Yes.
instance.
And he's like, he still knows that, like, he's kind of sending them to their death in a way, but at least they're going to go together. And I was like,
oh, it's so kind.
I love you.
It has begun.
Literally. And then he's coming back into town, and there is a silencer. Well, these guys try and like mug him because, again, same thing.
A bunch of dumb drunk friends thought they could like jump him. Yeah.
Yeah, they thought they could jump him in like this alleyway or something, and it's this whole fight. And then what's called a silencer comes, and they essentially have the ability to take away your ability. They like, what is the word I'm looking for?
They can control you with their minds. Like, they can completely shut you down as a person with their
minds. They,
minds.
shut you down. Yeah.
In the most painful way possible.
And it feels like your head's exploding, like it's this whole thing. And where they
what was that ability in Twilight that one girl could do? And she would just, like, look at people and they'd be in pain.
Jane.
Yeah, that's kind of what the silencers do.
Yeah. But those people, what are they called? The Fatals, I think it is. Yep. People with, like, super, super abilities have also kind of been shunned from society.
Yep, because they're too dangerous. Well, the king can't control them.
Exactly.
So for real right now.
But he has, like, the royal silencer, so that's okay. But the rest of them have kind of been shunned to, like, the slums.
Been voted off the island.
So then, of course, Paedyn's walking by. She sees this fight happening, and she goes over there, and it's Kai, and she's like, oh, my gosh.
What?
This handsome, devilish man. I have to save him. And she is like a super soldier.
Yep, she's whooping ass.
She just, and we come to find out her dad has trained her very, very well for these things. And I think at this point we know her dad has died. He was killed. This is where we find out. Her dad was killed by the king. Or the king's working people.
Mm-hmm. But in her mind, she saw the king do it.
She saw the king do it, and as she is kind of like beating on the enforcer, all this rage comes to play onto the king's killed my dad, and this is what he deserves, and this is what all these people deserve, yada yada yada. And she doesn't know that Kai is even a prince, so that's kind of also
all together.
Also, with Kai having the ability to mimic other people's ability, he can sense who the ordinaries are. So that
made me nervous. That made me so nervous.
But
this book will keep you on your toes, okay?
Yeah. Like, because the whole time you're like, I have a secret.
I know something you
literally
know.
And so, long story short, Paedyn ends up kind of knocking the silencer out. He ends up getting taken by guards who all of a sudden show up after Paedyn's already saved the day.
Oh, yeah.
And Paedyn and Kai have a moment of he thinks that she's an ordinary.
And she has to prove it.
Yeah, and she's like, you were just in the desert and something.
Yeah, you were in a fight, not this one, another one, because she noticed she was looking at details about healing wounds.
His hands,
and the dusty boots and his like facial features and stuff, and she was like, and you feel guilty about it.
Yeah, you have a lot of guilt.
That's what made it be like,
Because she's like, oh, I'm a psychic. Like, it's just such a small ability. Like, you probably can't sense it because I feed off of other people's emotions. And that's what gives me the visions. And he buys it, I guess. But that's also why a silencer can't get into her brain. Because he's like, well, why weren't you affected by it? Like, why were you able to kick his hiney and...
Wait a minute!
Yeah. He feels so powerless in that situation that he ends up deciding that he needs to train with the royal silencer so that never happens to him again. So,
got it.
Kind of keep that in mind. So then we find out about Paedyn's dad, how he was killed by the royals, and she despises the king with a fiery, fiery passion.
Like, oh yeah, oh wow, rightfully so too.
Yeah.
But damn, girl.
Yeah.
Like.
After that, the Purging Trials names have been announced.
Bum, bum, bum.
And Paedyn Gray is on the name.
Sorry. Gasp!
Pretends to be shocked.
Yeah.
And everybody in the town is calling her the Silver Savior, which is a whole theme because she has very white hair. Yeah.
She has a level of blonde that I could never dream of reaching.
Yeah. Well, it's like literally silver. Yeah.
Not even.
Because they talk a lot about her hair.
Like almost the whole book. Like I get
In
it.
this series, they talk a lot about her hair.
Okay.
And that kind of goes into like mutations from like this power can like come into play in different ways with people. So like some people have like blue hair and anyway.
I see.
But so the Purging Trials are happening. Kai is in the Purging Trials and he's expected to win, and the king is very clear that he needs to win.
Yes.
Like, if you don't win, this is such an embarrassment. Like, you're the future enforcer of the kingdom. Or he is the enforcer.
Like Q and laser tag. Don't embarrass me. We have to win.
Get it together.
Yeah.
This 3,000 score, this is not going to get us there.
Those are rookie numbers.
So, there's Kai, there's Paedyn, there's Jax. I love Jax.
Wasn't he one of the other princes?
He's kind of been, like, adopted by them.
Okay,
so he's not actually royal, but they think of him as their brother. Okay. And he's just the sweetest guy. I loved him.
Good boy, just a little
He's
sweetheart.
just a little boy. And then there's Kitt and Kai's cousin and
Blair.
a friend. Blair.
Wasn't a fan of her.
Blair's not the cousin. Sadie's the cousin, I think her name is. There's Blair, who is just the absolute worst, and then a few other people. One contestant I would love to speak about really quick is Ace.
What the hell? Yeah.
Hated Ace.
Is he the shapeshifter one?
Yes.
Yeah, he was a POS.
He's like an illusionist,
I
what
was
it is.
not a fan of him at
I
all.
hate him. And immediately.
Him and Blair, I want them to have a coward off.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like,
for real. But he's like immediately really horrible to Paedyn because you have again, like Hunger Games, they go and they pick up the contestants and you have to say goodbye and yada, yada, yada. And it's like day up that the list is announced. So she has to like run to Aedena. She has to say goodbye. And I bookmarked this because she says, it's not a goodbye, only a good way to say bye until I see you next. Because she is a mundane, everyone kind of expects her to die. So, because these trials are really intense. Brutal. But what I thought was interesting is it's not like the Hunger Games where everybody has to die besides the winner.
Correct.
Which I thought was kind of an interesting way. Just people end up inevitably dying. Correct. Not all of them, though. But Ace, back to that, is horrible to her immediately, is very snooty, is like, I'm better than you, and I despise him with everything I have.
I fully support you in that.
Yeah. And Kitt is not involved in the trials because he is the heir.
Correct.
So he's
have
not
to
allowed
protect
to.
him.
Yes. Then they end up going to the palace and they have to stay, but they're like locked in their rooms for like 3 days or something, and it's a total like mind game. And
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about make you go insane.
There's nothing for 2 or 3 days, whatever it is. Yeah.
I feel like COVID again.
But that happens, and then she finally gets let out of the room by what is her guard's name?
I think I wrote it down.
Lance?
Lenny?
No. Lenny. So Lenny is like her guard guy.
Lenny.
He lets her out of the room and she's like, what the heck? And he's like, it's not just you, all the contestants, we're locked in their rooms. It's time for dinner. You got to get dressed and let's
He
go.
was funny. I liked how funny he was.
I liked Lenny. So she meets the other contestants, and then of course Kai is there. They have a moment. They have a lot of moments. We can't talk about them all because
we'd be here all day.
We'd be here all day. And then she feels like guilty for eating in a way because
everyone she knows is starving.
Yes, exactly. And so Kai ends up just like giving her food and being like, I have to feed you. Because he can see that she's feeling very uncertain about this whole thing. They have a moment walking back to the room. She like holds dagger to his throat. This happens about 1,000 times.
Like, girl with the knife play. Like, sometimes you need to make sure that you are consenting, Paedyn.
He likes it.
That's true. That's true.
And then there's a lot of Hunger Games-esque training that's going on. They're all kind of doing their own thing. And then, of course, Kai always comes and tries and helps Paedyn.
While Blair tries to, like, sort of kill her.
Yeah.
Like, who are Blair's parents? Like, why is she so special? Who the
don't know.
F is her? Like, I don't like her.
I think they explain it, but I just didn't really care enough.
Yeah, don't care.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Back to Paedyn and Kai here.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, at some point, Blair like ends up throwing a knife and it cuts Paedyn's ear. And she's like, oh, territorial. Oh, because Blair likes Kai. Oh. That's kind of sprinkled in there. And
Kai does not like Blair.
No. But he kind of like has to deal with her because of her family.
Yeah, I need to do some more investigating. Or a listener, watcher, somebody help us out.
Yeah.
Do some digging.
And then there's like moments of Kai braiding her hair to keep blood out of her hair.
That was sweet. But of course she was always so like hard on him. I'd be like, girl, and then I'm like, I probably talk to my husband the same way.
Be nice.
So like, oh, I'm finding it.
You like me?
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of banter, a lot of I hate you, I'm gonna kill you, da 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 da.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Clearly that's not what's gonna happen, but they like each other, but they're not gonna say they like each other. Very, very enemies
to lovers.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But and then also Kitt likes Paedyn. So Kitt and Paedyn meet in the hall, and she immediately is like, oh, he kind of looks like Kai, but different.
He's a lighter font. Like
yes, there's like dark and light.
Yep.
And he has his dad's eyes. They're green. And so she like has a really hard time, but she kind of starts to see the king in him, even though they're two very different people. But when
you're programmed to be someone, it starts to show, And then it's extra like, oh, but you're like forbidden because of what you did to my family.
Yes. But Kitt is also very much likes Paedyn. And him and Kai don't really talk about it, but it's definitely
just like it's on the radar, but
yeah. And she talks a lot about with Kitt play the part. Like even though she can't stand to look at him play the part. Because
she got real good at playing along.
Yes. Because they have to impress the public in a way. Like these contestants. It's a weird
Oh yeah, because they vote. I forgot. All the people like vote.
Well, they can like send you stuff again. Like in the Hunger Games, they can send you things, I think.
I guess I wasn't... I mean, I was noticing the parallels, but I was just focusing on, like, finishing the book and taking notes that I wasn't realizing just how similar these books are.
I watch the Hunger Games probably at least twice a year, like the whole thing. So,
wow.
It's very fresh in my brain almost all the time.
I have seen it, I think, twice.
Yeah. I love the Hunger Games.
And aren't there, like, multiple Hunger Games movies?
Yeah, I think there's 3 or 4.
I've only seen the first one.
No, there's 4. Yeah.
Okay, so we need to do...
I do it like twice a year, so.
Okay, let me know when the next rotation begins. I'll make time.
Okay, they have the bowl, or like the arena, that all the contestants have to go to. And before this, she like opens the door and she's like, what the heck am I supposed to wear? And that's when she meets Kitt. And he's like, whoa.
Yep.
It's like, we'll send a maid to help you. She's like, I don't need a maid.
I don't need help.
Yeah. And so they have a moment like walking into the bowl area, which is also like you go in through the king's box. This is kind of.
I was picturing a football stadium, and so they have their suites and.
Yeah. But for some reason, Kitt's there.
The skybox and whatever it's called.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I see you found something to wear." Da, 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 da. And
he's flirty and like sweeter
he's
flirty.
Very sweet.
Whereas Kai is like, oh, well, you look less like shit than you did yesterday. Like, that's the kind of his.
And we all go, ooh.
Yeah, like, he likes me.
But so as they're going through like these tunnel things, they have to like boost themselves up into the king's box to get to the arena area.
I already completely forgot about this. It's like you're telling me the first
You forgot about this?
Yeah, I'm
okay. So,
and?
One of my notes here. She, like, boosts herself up, but she can't quite get in there because her dress, like, is too tight or whatever around the legs. I don't know why. This is probably one of my favorite parts in the whole book. But Kai ends up, like, grabbing her and cutting a slit in her dress.
Oh. How could I forget such a part? Wow. Mm.
And I was like,
sheesh.
This is so dumb. I know that. But I was like, oh my gosh. And then he's like, he literally rips her dress up to her thigh. And it's like, I'm more than willing to rip dresses for you, Gray. To help, of course. You only need to ask.
That's not the only time he alters one of her dresses for her then. Dang.
True. Yeah, but I loved that.
Yep.
Anyway, I had to specifically talk about
I'm glad you did. Yeah.
So then they have, like, interviews, essentially, is what the whole point of this arena thing. I almost want to say it's like the elite people are invited. They're like in this arena and they go one by one to talk about the person and their abilities and things like that. And of course, Paedyn being a psychic, she's very nervous about it.
Oh, I forgot.
Because it's like,
part is like,
you gotta fool everybody here.
You gotta fool the whole arena. And everyone's answering stuff like, oh, I just want to bring pride to my kingdom, and I just want to make my kingdom proud. And you're like, okay.
And she says, I just expect to survive.
Yeah. We survive.
Yeah, I just want to survive this thing. But, like, she has to go through so many people and be like, oh, this happened to you, and you're dealing with this, and yada, yada,
yada. They, like,
yada.
messed with her more than the other contestants.
Yes. And I think that comes down to, like, the ability. Like, everybody she meets, I feel like, test her out. Like, oh, you're a psychic. Well, tell me something. That seems to happen a lot, and she's like...
20 psychics out there. Is that what it's like for you? All day, every day? It sounds exhausting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but, like, if you met a psychic, you'd be like... I totally
I get it. I'd be like, so, I'm not like regular girls, but could you tell me something? I'll pay. Like, I'm not trying to use you.
Yeah. And then the next day... Kai and Paedyn, like, meet in the hall because their rooms are right across from each other, of course.
Coincidentally.
Yeah, because Kai also is staying in, like, a contestant room, which is, like, nicer than anything she's ever stayed in, obviously. But they, like, meet, and he's like, well, come on. It's my job to feed you. And they go downstairs, and they meet Gail, the cook.
Oh! Yeah, I liked her.
She's just the, like... I don't know.
Sweet.
I feel like you have this in a lot of books where like there's somebody that's like part of the help, but when like you get to see like the hard guys like soft side to her because she's like been around since they're kids and
correct.
It's very much like that. And Paedyn kind of starts to see Kai in a different light.
As a human being,
Yes.
perhaps.
But then also there's more training. And at this point,
There's never enough.
I think that they know that with the ball, they're expected to have a partner among contestants.
Oh.
Typically. Kai hasn't asked Paedyn, but they do like each other at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the training where they fight, and he's like, oh, you're trying to take me on, and then he's like, abilities or no abilities, and she says, no, I just want you. Dead.
I like that. I like that part a lot too. It's okay.
But they fight, and she's like, oh, taking it easy on me, and like they beat each other up, and I was like, oh, okay. But she still says that he's like going easy on her and don't do it again. And I'm like,
Dang.
she means business. Then we have the ball, which Kitt ends up asking Paedyn.
And I was like, oh no, this is gonna get complicated.
Which, he's not a contestant. But I
True.
mean, I guess he is expected to have a date.
True, especially because he's the prince.
Because
I
he's
know
the
Kai
heir.
is a prince too. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's like a prince.
Yeah.
He's like a special prince.
Yeah. But, so she kind of thinks of this at the time of, well, this will help me popularity-wise.
Correct.
Because Kitt is
Play
very
the
much
game.
favored.
Play
He's
the game.
the heir. Play the game. I can do this. So she ends up saying yes, and she's expected to have these outrageous gowns. Not really her thing, but they mention that she can like pick a seamstress, and she immediately is like, I can
Aedena.
bring Aedena to the palace.
That'd be like you being someone. They're like, well, you know, you can have someone help you with your hair or makeup, even though you were the one that taught me how to do makeup. You'll be like, oh, I need my friend Susie. Like, I can bring it. This house is so nice. You need to get here.
Yeah, it's exactly like she'll be fed, she'll have
Yeah,
a
like,
bed,
girl, this is
she'll
fun.
be taken care of, at least until the end of the trials. And then I could be making this up, but I'm pretty sure she says at one point, like, I just need to make it to the end, so at least she'll be safe for that long.
Correct.
Because if she dies, then Adena's out. But then also, there's a knock at her door at night. And it's
Could that
Kai. And he's like, I'm going to teach you how to dance. Or he doesn't even say that at first. He's just like, follow me.
Yeah,
She's like,
correct.
What are you?
Dance practice.
Yes. And they go to his actual room, not his contestant room. They go to his actual room, and they have dance lessons, and they're very close, and it's a whole
There's a lot of tension, y'all.
A lot of tension.
In there. Woo.
And then nothing happens.
Yeah, whole lot of nothing.
But he's like, he says something about, like, helping his brother out. And that, I think, is kind of a little bit of a slap in the face
Definitely.
to her.
It would make me irritated.
Yeah. But at the same time, he's got a point.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's his reason for the dance lessons.
Right.
It's so she doesn't embarrass his brother.
Of course, yeah. It's not because he wants to be close to her. And
No.
Oh, no. Of course not.
So then we have the first ball, which is a very big deal. And it's expected that all the women wear green because it's like the color.
Of the city, country, whatever it's called. Ilya.
And she doesn't. She's the only person who doesn't. She wears a
Atta girl.
silver gown with her silver hair, and she very much sticks out.
Which I'm sure Blair was just so angry. Like, I would have worn a lavender dress had I known!
But there's a lot of tension here. There's a lot of things. Let me see if I bookmarked any of this. Oh, and she has her dagger on her.
Yes, I loved that. After the end of this book, I'm like, I want a thigh-strapped dagger to wear around places at this point. Just,
I mean, I'm not going to, but that's
but when
just
I
kind
think
of like
about
based
it,
on
yes.
the places I go. There's a line in here where they're dancing, and she's like dancing with this guy, and he's just like not really her vibe. And Kai steps in and says, I'll be stealing her now. In the middle of a dance, which is kind of inappropriate.
Rude.
And it's just like, and they have a lot more banter. I'll, stab you, da-da-da-da-da.
I'll stab you, I love you too. You know, just the general.
And then she's like kind of checking him out. And he says, by all means, carry on. I'll never deny myself the chance of watching you watch me.
Oh!
And then he's like, because it's better when it's mutual, because he's always checking her out. He's got a bunch of smooth lines, yeah. And she ends up seeing this guy that she recognizes from the loot. And she had stolen from him at one point, and there was like an address on it, and it was the address to her house that she had as a child. Nothing ever really comes of it at that point. But she ends up seeing him like in the ball, and she's like,
wait, I
recognize him. And then, well, we come to find out the rebellion people, and they're like bombing, and it's this whole thing. They're just a bunch of ordinaries for the most part. And
that have had enough.
And it turns into this whole thing, and Kai's like, you have to get to the safe room, and she's like, I'm not leaving.
Oh.
And he's like, I'll throw you over my shoulder.
Oh, yeah, and he like literally carried her in there.
He literally throws her over his shoulder.
What I wouldn't give. We're both like, what we wouldn't give to be thrown over this. Anyway.
Then there's also a moment with him and Kitt. And Kit's like, I don't want to leave. And he's like, you have to leave.
I'm picturing Kitt being like, I'm a big boy now. I don't want to go.
Well,
and Kai being like, bruh.
And he's literally holding Paedyn over his arm. Can we not do this right now?
I have the carrot. Let's go.
Yeah. I think Kitt feels a lot of guilt. Well, we kind of find that out during the book, of Kai always being the one to like do the battles for him in a way, and he doesn't really like that. But Kai ends up winning it. Like, we need you for the future. We cannot have you getting hurt. And so he throws Kai and Kitt or not Kai and Kitt.
It's okay. I
Paedyn
knew exactly where you were going.
And Kitt into the safe room.
And they're stuck with everyone else.
Yeah. Then obviously Kitt is very distressed, and Paedyn is like, this is my time to get like information out of him. And so he ends up telling her about the resistance and how there's ordinaries who are trying to fight back. And during this, you kind of start to figure out that Kitt is very unsure about everything, it seems. He's been taught that ordinaries are bad people and they're diseased and all these things.
He seems very educated but very misinformed. That's like, he's very misinformed about a lot of things, and he has a lot of emotions about it all.
Yes. He just like, I don't know, he seems very lost, but he's kind of like been groomed to be king, essentially. And Paedyn ends up asking him, do you want to be king? And he's like, nobody's ever asked me that. And it's this whole thing. Anyway, Kitt's kind of a softie, which we start to find out.
Kitt's kind of crazy.
No, he's not yet.
Okay. No, he's not yet.
I'll say, I have a lot of hope for him.
Okay.
Even after reading the second book,
dang,
I think he's either going to go one of two ways. He is going to be everything that the kingdom needs and bring everybody together, or he's going to be
the next like Mad King.
Yeah, the Mad King that ends up dying. Like, it's got to go one of those ways, in my mind. At this point, he's very kind. He really opens up to Paedyn, and she kind of starts to see him differently. Of, like, he has his dad's eyes, but they're softer. She says that at one point. Like,
and about his hair and, like, his features.
Yes. Then the doors open, or whatever, to the safe room, and she comes out, and Kai is wounded, and she's like, where are you hurt? And he's like, before we say anything, like, have you been healed? And I'm like, he cares about her. This is so dumb.
It's okay, we're in this together.
Yes, but he ends up being, like, stabbed in the shoulder or something, and she has to, like, rip the knife out, and then he's healed, and everything's fine. So then we get to the first trials. And they're drugged before the trials.
Round one.
They're drugged beforehand. And then they're, like, put out into this forest, essentially. And they all have armbands. And whoever gets the most armbands, like, wins the round, I guess. Which, I don't think that ever really comes into play. Because at the last trial, it's like, whoever wins this trial wins. So that was kind of interesting.
Thought so, too.
That's a little bit of a plot hole there.
Yeah, what was the point of the leathers and the bands this whole time anyway?
And winning the rounds.
Yeah.
Because it's not best 2 out of 3, friends. Anyway.
All right.
But they're, like, in the forest, and they have armbands, and whoever has the most will win, and if you don't come back with an armband, like, you're cut from the show.
And I always wondered, I'm like, does that mean you're dispatched?
Dispatched?
Like
Dispatched?
Like dispatched.
Killed?
Yeah.
No, I don't think you because not everybody dies during the trials.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
You know?
No. Hair on the head.
But no. And so the first run-in is Kai and big old buddy Brawny. I don't even remember his name.
I don't either, but yeah.
They have a tussle. Kai ends up like burning his face.
Yeah, somebody gets tossed into the fire, the other one gets rolled into the fire. It's intense.
Braxton.
There it is.
Kai ends up getting hurt, but it's definitely not as bad. And the whole like point of this kind of area is there's water right there, so there's a resource, and so it's important.
That's anyway. Everybody's fighting for it.
Yeah. So they have a fight. Kai's fine. Braxton like takes off, and he took his band from him, so now Kai's got 2 band.
Ha ha ha.
Hee hee, winning. And then we have Paedyn, who comes across kind of the same area, and in the water she sees Kitt and he's hurt. She like jumps over there, and then it turns out that it's not real at all, and Kitt's not there, and she ends up like hurting her leg, and Ace is there. And what's hard is like this is the name of the game. Like he's 100%. Expected to like work with his abilities, but it's like you don't gotta be such a jerk about it.
Yes.
So he shows her that she hurts her leg. They fight. He ends up.
She hurts her leg a lot.
Yeah, she ends up hurting herself a lot, which everything can be healed in this.
And he stabs her, right? Or there's a spear.
It's a spear, and he ends up spearing her.
Oh my god.
Then she's like walking, and she realizes she's really hurt, and there's like infection kind of already, in a way. And she comes across Kai.
Who other than she finds little Mr. Dreamy.
Yes. But at this point, she's very delirious. Like, she's having a really hard time.
She couldn't even be mean to him. She
can't be mean to him, but she's scared. So she's, like, still trying to protect herself. And she ends up just, like, collapsing. And he's like, Paedyn, Pay.
That's when he starts calling her Pay. And I'm like, oh!
And then she says, I don't want to die, if only so I can hear him say my name one more time. And she's
I was
like,
driving for work in this part, and so I'm like going, no! Oh my god!
And he's like running his hands all over her, like trying to find the wound. And she's like smiling, and he said, remind me to make you smile again when you aren't dying. And I have all the time in the world to memorize it. Because he's like panicked, but he's like, and she's coming in and out. She thinks she's going to die, and she closes her eyes. Paedyn, open your eyes.
Wake up!
And if you die, I'm going to kill you.
Yep.
Like,
that was funny.
I love this kind of moments of, like, he's so panicked of, like, I have to save her, I have to protect her, and da-da-da-da, and she's, like, dying, and he's like, don't you dare do this. It's very, very movie-esque.
This would be a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I think it would cause a lot of ruckus, though, just because of all the similarities.
100%.
Yeah. Not that I wouldn't like it, but... And he ends up finding the wound.
Stitching her up.
He goes over. He takes, like, the balm that he ended up taking from Braxton. Like, the healing
stuff.
Puts it on her. And she wakes up, and she's like, that hurts. Like, what the heck are you doing? And he's like, you don't even know her yet. Like, I gotta stitch you up.
Life.
She's dehydrated. She's all these things. Long story short, he ends up taking care of her. And then his fingers find her chin, and he makes her look up at him, and he says, who did this to you?
Every time, you know it's getting good when you get to that part in the book. You're like, oh boy.
Yep. I'm going to ask you again, who did this to you? Swoon. Swooning.
Me, if Eric grabbed my chin. Get off me. Why are you touching me?
I just did my skincare.
Yeah.
You lost your mind. And he ends up kind of like distracting her while he's trying to stitch her up, asking about home, asking about Aedena, like their life.
Distract.
Things like that. He also like tries to like piss her off too, like to distract her from the pain because she's so like, I don't know, a fighter, you know.
I can imagine it'd be like you being like, what was that? What did she do to you again 10 years ago that made you so upset? And I'd be like, oh, well, this bitch. Like, oh, perfect. Okay, anyway, go on.
Moving forward. they end up, like, staying together for the night because she's hurt.
And they, like, snuggle to stay warm? Is that at this
That's
point?
not this point.
Oh, damn it. I got so excited.
He does end up, like, watching her, and he's like, she's so beautiful and all these things. And then, I hate this. We talked about this with The Royals Next Door. The she's too good for me trope. I don't like that. By all standards in this society, you're too good for her. Mm-hmm. But, like, he doesn't think of himself that way because he, you know,
I'm a monster. It's all men. They're always like, I'm a monster. There's a monster in me. There's my dark side. I'm like, shut up.
But as he's watching her and he decides that she's too good for him and all the toying and teasing has been like a distraction, but now he's not entirely sure what it is. And he says,
I'm conflicted.
He said, if I am to be her enemy, I want it to be because she loathes herself for wanting me.
Damn.
He's very much like, I think he's accepted at this point that he likes Paedyn and loves everything kind of about, maybe not loves, but likes a lot of her characteristics and her fieriness. You can tell
we're romantics over here. We're like, they were officially in love at this point.
But he doesn't think that she should want him, but he's going to do everything he can to make her want him, is kind of the thing about it. Because he's a notorious flirt with her. And she thinks he's like that with everybody, but he's not.
True, he's just like straight up grumpy but polite to everyone else, and she thinks that he's like grumpy flirty with everyone else.
Yes. She wakes up and they ultimately decide they're going to be partners during this trial. She's hurt.
Do you want to form an alliance?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
But they don't really trust each other, and he's like, well, I think you should trust me because I just saved your life. So, maybe.
Us with trust issues would be like, yeah, but like now you just have something on me. That's why you did it. You did it so that you would have something to hold over my head.
I knew it!
Yep.
And she ends up seeing that he has this burn mark on his chest, and she's like, oh, let me go make this paste real quick.
I have a magic salve.
Yeah, exactly. Let me get my balms. And she ends up making it and is like putting it on him, and now it's her turn to distract him from the pain because he's like, this hurts. What the heck are you doing to me? I'm convinced you're trying to torture me. So she kind of does the same thing to him. Tell me about you and Kitt growing up and what it was like.
Oh, you want to tell me, you want to know about how I was never favored and how I was treated differently and tortured as a child? Sure, okay.
And he kind of, like he says, like the way that he was trained was pretty severe. And there's a lot of torture and things like that just he had to experience, but his brother never didn't. Yeah. Very different relationships for the king. Because of it, Kitt will make a great king and I will be his killer.
I just glanced down at your note.
Oh, that's the king. P.O.S. That was for the king.
I have a very similar, let's see where my note is about the king. King Edric, piece of shit.
Same thing. She asked him, like, what do you think of it, your role in this life? And he says, I never wanted to be this. I never wanted to be what I am today. But monsters are made and not broken, and I had no choice in the matter. I have no choice in the matter. But I won't deny what I am, and I'll do what I must for my kingdom and for my king. So,
duty and honor.
But it's his brother in a way. Like, that makes it harder, I think. Like, it's not just his dad, it's his brother, who he loves. He does love his brother, so that makes it hard. Anyway, so now they're buddies, and there's wolves.
Yeah, there's Twilight wolves. They're huge. A lot of fighting, slashing, slicing, dicing.
Maybe so for real. Anyway, moving on. He ends up, like, saving her, and she says, like, after this is done, like, you don't listen. And she's like, yeah, I'm not going to take orders from you, like one of your little soldiers. And he says, you're right, you're not one of my soldiers. My soldiers don't mean anything to me. They're expendable and easy to replace. Oh. So yes, Gray, you're not one of my soldiers.
Oh, I'm like, that means I'm important to him.
Delusion. Well, it's not even delusion. And then he's hurt. Again, his shoulder.
Constantly. He's like always hurt.
She's like, I got a bomb.
Yep.
And he says, I'm beginning to think that you enjoy getting hurt. If only I can have my hands all over you. Or she says. No, she says that to him. They're healed up. They have their, like, camaraderie is going. And they end up dancing.
Oh, yeah.
I like this part.
Under the moon.
It's very, like, simple. It's very
Sweet.
much like, what's your favorite color? What do you like to eat? Da, 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 things like that. But it's kind of like a touching moment, and they are really vulnerable, I guess you could say. And then nothing happens.
Yet again. It's a theme.
Anytime you think that they're getting close, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, don't bother getting excited.
Don't waste
it. Ain't happening.
Yeah. Sadie shows up. Sorry to interrupt. There's a whole fight. Not a whole lot to it. But she can kind of, like, mimic herself. So she makes a bunch of Sadies. And they're all
Imagine
like...
how creepy that would be.
Yes. And Sadie is a very, like, kind person, though. And so she kind of tells Paedyn, like, I don't want to do this. Like, as she's, like, ready to kill her.
I don't want to kill you.
Yeah. But she's about to kill Paedyn. And then Kai ends up killing Sadie for Paedyn. And then Paedyn is, like, really freaked out. And he's like, just go back to camp. I'll take care of it. And she doesn't. She ends up, like, walking back out. And he had buried Sadie and put flowers on her grave. And that was specifically for Paedyn because she felt so bad about it.
Which is very sweet.
Yes. And then...
Some of our friends can't even get a text back, and this guy's burying a stranger for this girl. Like, if he wanted to, he would, ladies.
Oh, for some reason I was like, I have a really hard time texting back.
No.
I'm like, dang, calling me out. Okay.
No.
Oh, okay. So then, at the end of the trials, like, the trials haven't really ended yet, but they have to, like, walk out. Well, they have to, like, walk out of this forest area.
Got it.
And this is where, like, the contestants meet, and then some of them have also built alliances. I think it's Andy and Jax, actually. Have also built an alliance. They meet up with them. They're, like, walking out, and Blair is like, don't you know alliances ruin everything? And then there's, like, this massive fight.
Correct.
And in that fight, Ace has made Jax look like him.
This part.
And so Kai...
I was so upset reading this part.
Kai is going after him because of what he did to Paedyn.
Correct.
But then he actually ends up stabbing Jax. And then Jax's eyes appear and he's like, oh my gosh, what have I done? There's like the panic moment. He picks him up. He's like running amongst the crowd to try and find a healer.
To find the healer energy.
So that he can heal him. And he does end up healing him. And this, my note, I hate Ace. Can't wait till he dies.
When I tell you, I was reading that, then I had to go to work that day, and then I drove to my client's house, and I moved to the farther away driveway so that I could park and finish that chapter. Like,
I gotta finish this.
yeah, and then their dog is always waiting for me, and he's just like, come on.
Hello.
Where's my biscuit? I'm like, hang on! Yeah, this scene was so stressful. Like, when you read this book, this part...
It's a lot. Yeah.
It's so emotional.
Yeah.
Because you're getting to see, like, the soft side of Kai
Yes.
and how he cares about his siblings.
And he cares a lot about Jax. Because when he found out that Jax was even going to be in the trials...
He was not happy.
He was like, great, now I have to, like, not
care of
only win and protect myself, I have to take care of him as well now, and it's, like, a whole thing. After that, Kitt ends up taking Paedyn to the gardens. And they're, like, walking along. She very much, like, kind of makes him question things about the kingdom. And he wants to know what she would do and what her opinions are and things like that.
I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
Just, and I don't know why.
I don't know. I think it was, like, the whole point of it was, like, make sure that we knew he's different than his dad. I think that's kind of the whole thing.
Okay.
And he says... I kind of like
That
Kitt.
face is so funny.
I kind of like him. He says...
I don't know why I'm being such a hater. I'm sorry. Like, he really didn't do anything that bad
He's
either.
so
I'm just like...
He ends up saying, like, Paedyn, if I listen to you, will you at least, like, look at me? And so he's, like, constantly trying to, like, catch her eyes and things like that because he likes Paedyn. And Paedyn, like, has a really hard time looking at him because she sees the king. And... Anyway, it's this whole moment. And he's like, you won't look at me. I just want you to look at me. Anyway, so there's this fountain. And it has a bunch of coins in the bottom of it. And she just looks at it and she's just
what
like...
a waste of money.
What a waste of money. This could feed so many people. And Kitt is like, okay, I'll have it picked
Cleaned
up and
out.
distributed out to people that
She's
need
like,
it.
huh?
And he said, I told you I'd listen to you. And I'm like, see, he's a good guy.
If he wasn't so desperate to please his father, he'd be a good guy.
But, like, that's his role.
And, like, I get it.
Yeah. I think I give
But
him
also,
a lot of grace.
That's true.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Like, you're allowed.
He's never done anything at this point to not be deserving of it. Like,
100%.
he's shown that he is a good guy. Like, he is kind of born into this position. There's not a whole lot he can do about it.
It's true. You don't pick your parents.
Exactly. After that, Paedyn sets out to find the resistance. And how to find the resistance? She has that note from the very beginning of the address of her old house.
Got it.
She knows
And
that
she
that
hasn't
guy
been
was a
home
part of the
since
resistance.
that night.
So she shows up, and extremely long story short, her dad was a part of the resistance.
Like the head of it.
Yeah, and that's kind of why they think he was killed. He was killed in front of her, we come to find out, and stabbed through the chest in his chair while he was reading by someone in the royal guard. The king is what she says. And so there's Callum, who has an ability.
Oh, the
Mind reader.
I don't know how I feel about Callum, if we're being 110%. I'm like,
Okay.
he's a little...
I don't know how I feel about him. So.
Okay, that's nice to know someone else was, like, on my side.
Yeah. At this point, I did like him, but I was still kind of unsure about him. But, so, as she shows up there, Lenny is there. So, Lenny, the guard
Oh, right. She was
of
like,
her
hey!
room, is also a part of the resistance. It's like, about time you showed up.
Why did he have to be Southern?
I didn't pick that up.
In the audiobook, when I listened to this part on Audible...
He's Southern?
Yeah, like they gave him a distinctive Southern drawl, and then they only had the female narrator read his lines, so it was just number one complaint. Like, I'm sorry to derail,
An audiobook complaint.
It was not great. Anyway, that's it. That's my one. I don't know why he had to be Southern, because then it ruined the whole, like, picture in my head for who he is and everything, and it was just weird.
I kind of pictured him, I pictured him a little Southern, I think.
Okay.
Like, I pictured him as a redhead,
Yes.
freckles, like, just kind of boyish,
Yep.
kind of Southern vibe.
I'll have to play you a little bit of what
Yeah.
his voice was for that, and you'll be like,
Ma'am.
oh, there's a lot more people in on the resistance than she realized. This is a big
There's
deal.
like charters.
This is real.
Yeah.
And it's coming.
There's charters, and then all the leaders kind of group together, and Callum is the ultimate leader of the whole resistance. They tell her that they're planning on striking, but they need to find a way into the king's box under the tunnels. And
He's the shady one in... would be the shady one that, like, in Hunger Games, he always had, like, the blue hair, and he was always next to...
Oh.
that would be him.
Yeah. And she's like, okay, well, how am I supposed to find that? And Lenny's like, it's almost as if you have some princes in your pocket that you could probably figure out how to get in there.
Yes, that was funny. Like, come on, bat your eyelashes, girl.
Yes, exactly. And she's like,
okay.
I suppose. And she knows that her way to do that is through Kitt. It's not going to be through Kai. It's going to be through Kitt. So she inevitably
she has to play them both.
Gets closer to him. And so, like, as they're talking about, like, the people and things like that. And Kitt tells her that he wants to see loot. He wants to see the people. He wants to, like...
I want to see how my people live, or something like
Yes.
that was his line. And she's like,
well, how are we ever going to get out? And he's like, I can find us a way,
That's
Dolphin.
right. How
Not so much like that.
stupid, too. He's just like, and us women are like,
She is playing you like a fiddle. Which is kind of her thing, like, to play these
That's
men
true.
of, like, oh, I have no idea.
I'm just so stupid.
You
Me
can
and my
get us
girl
out?
brain.
You can get us out of the kingdom? And he's like, yeah, I could get us out. Go
No
see
problem.
it.
Let me show you how cool I am.
Yes. And then the king, like, stops her and Kitt, and is like, Kitt, go do whatever. And he kind of threatens Paedyn.
She's like, get the info. Yeah. He's like, stay away from my sons.
Stay away from my sons.
something. He was really shitty.
Like, don't expect to win this thing because you're not going to.
Correct.
And then he also kind of has a moment with Kai of, like, just clarifying, you need to win this thing. Also, not in that nice of words, but he does say that. So, at the second ball, again, she's going with Kitt, and Kai ends up drunk, and...
Oh, this was so funny. He got drunk.
She ends up, like, spilling wine on him.
And she, like, they're trying to fix it, and they're flirting while he's, the whole thing. It was a very cute little exchange.
Because she ends up, like, spilling wine on him, and he's like, it's okay. But
and then they
drunk.
walk over to the trees, and she's trying to blot it.
Yeah.
And then they go back.
And he's like, let's dance.
And then she panics.
Yeah.
And then he takes her away and unties her dress so she can breathe.
Okay, in my mind, he ripped it.
Yeah, that's true.
Which isn't
pulls out a Benchmade.
No, he ripped it with his hands. In my brain.
Sheesh.
Which I think he kind
of
he tugs on it.
Okay.
For sure, because he doesn't rip it, but he definitely loosens it so she can breathe.
Okay. Me forgetting that he's a man that wouldn't know that. I'm like, no, he would just untie it and help loosen it for her. You know, like a gentleman. I'm like, no, Susie, no. Stop being boring.
And then she says to him at some point, "You can touch me when you're sober," because she can tell that he's drunk and he's obviously really
ready to make a move,
lovey-dovey. Randomly during this, I would picture it like a podium thing comes up, and it's like, "Oh, you thought this was a regular ball? Just kidding, you all have to fight." Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. Got it. And she ends up going against Blair.
Surprise, surprise. And she keeps getting put against Blair.
Yeah, she technically loses it, but she embarrasses Blair enough.
She hurts Blair's pride.
Yeah,
which is
how
more
she
important
puts
than
it.
Blair's body.
Yeah. Which is just kind of, okay. Which she punches her in the face, and that's embarrassing for Blair. But what I didn't get is, Blair ends up taking off after she, threw Paedyn to the ground. Mm-hmm. But she literally leaves. And then Paedyn says that she won the match. I don't get that.
I don't either.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
anyway,
that's weird.
Moving forward. So then we have trial number 2, and he wakes up, and on his palm it says, "She said I can touch her when I'm sober."
So sweet.
And I love that.
That is good.
But the second trial is teamwork, and they have to make it up this hill.
And the king purposely puts them on weird teams. He put weird people together.
Paedyn and Ace are together, and then Kai and Blair, I think, are together, and then miscellaneous people. Paedyn is with Jax, at least. Anyway, so they wake up, and whoever makes it to the top of this tower thing is the one who wins. And there's snakes, and there's rocks, and all this stuff.
Earthquakes and everything you can think.
There's challenges along this hike.
Yep.
And then they get to the top, and it's actually, just kidding, it's capture the flag.
Yeah.
Okay.
As if this couldn't get any weirder.
Yeah. So then everyone ends up fighting, and then Ace is going for Paedyn, because of course he is. And then Paedyn is ready to kill him. She gets the upper hand because she's this super assassin. Gets the upper hand, is ready to kill him, and it says, "Oh wait, you're not mine to kill." And then she brings Kai over to kill him.
Ooh, I like that.
Then Kai tells Paedyn, "Okay, go get the flag," and she ends up winning the second trials.
Which the king is just God damn it!
He says something to the boys of that was interesting how Paedyn won the second trial, and they're all
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Dad. Crazy world, lots of smells.
They're no, I've had the chicken defrosting in the sink all day. I don't know what you're talking about.
So then Ace is dead, and it's sweet victory for that one for me. And then Kitt and Paedyn, they go to the loot. He takes her in the tunnels. He ends up showing her exactly what she needs to see. This is how you get into the box, and she's like,
"Isn't this when she gets the key too? She gets it off him."
No, she gets that at the final ball. Oh, right. So then
I don't know why I had to growl that.
Right. But he shows her exactly what she needed for the resistance, and then they find out that there's actually a key also that she needs to lift off of him, and her and Lenny decide, or I guess there's kind of probably a group decision. She's going to take it off of him at the final ball and then give it to Lenny, and then they'll have it.
It'd be I would not be able to keep it cool during all this the way Paedyn does. I would be, my nerves. Mm-mm.
But she's trained. You know what? She's not just a regular person. Well, she is, but she's not. So then we have probably one of my favorite tropes of Kai is in his room. He's having a dream.
This just made me so mad. This was just...
Paedyn is dead, and he's freaking out, and he's holding her in his arms.
He has a nightmare.
He has a bad dream. Paedyn rushes in.
Yeah.
Kai. And
the classic, wake up, and he won't, and angrily wakes up, so scary.
He like ends up flipping her,
Like
and
they
he has a
always
dagger
do.
to her throat.
Every time, it's always like that. But did I totally eat this up? Of course I did.
For real. And she grabs his face. It's me, Pay.
Yeah.
Pay, it's me. And he's like, and then she's like, don't hide from me. It's this whole thing.
Yep.
Anyway.
You don't get it until you read it, okay? And you
I
will.
can't explain it. And he like calms down. And she's like, okay, you're okay. She gets ready to leave. And he grabs her hand.
Yep.
Stay. And she's like, okay. And she does. And she stays. And then the next morning they wake up and she's just, the picture of beauty, apparently. According to Kai, her hair is spilled over the pillow and her lips are softly parted.
Yep, and her 53 freckles.
Her 27 freckles or something.
He counted.
Yeah. Anyway, so he goes.
He counted her freckles? So cute I could die.
For real. He goes and he like grabs breakfast and he's bringing it in and she like has a shoe and is ready to throw it at him or something. Anyway.
She's always on edge. Yeah, she's always ready to fight.
Yes.
Rightfully so. I'm not a Paedyn hater. Don't worry. I'm hard on the girl.
Sometimes it's a little frustrating. It's like, just give in for the love. The way I would fold so quickly. Mm-hmm. But she's stronger than I am, I guess. But there's a moment, lots of tension, and then it breaks. And he says something about, like, oh, gotta get ready for my brother at the ball or something like that. Because, of course, anytime they get too close...
God forbid.
They wouldn't kiss, right? Of course not. It's annoying.
It is.
It's so annoying.
It's like, I didn't realize I could feel that kind of frustration for people that aren't even real.
Yeah. But then we have the final ball, and this is before the final trial. And my big takeaway from this final ball is she ends up kind of having a panic attack. She's trying to distance herself from Kai also. Mm-hmm. Then inevitably they have to dance together, and he says, you've been avoiding me, and she like freaks out. She wants to go outside. The soldier dudes say you can't go outside. Kai comes and is like, better let her do what she wants.
You can do whatever you like.
Well, it's also the guy who's telling her no. Well, they're kind of not being very appropriate. Oh, lady, let me show you a good time, like that kind of thing. And then also one of the guys is the guy that hit her back in the loop. Oh. Yeah. And so Kai kind of puts him in their place. She can do whatever she wants. I'll take care of you later. They go outside. It's raining. Yes,
every time. Here it comes.
It's raining.
She'll say something all exasperated, I'm sure. It's not that simple.
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
And then they, like, get together, and he's like, tell me what you want me to call you. And she's like, what do you want to call me? And he says, I want to call you mine. And then there's a moment of, tell me you don't feel this. And she's like, I don't feel it.
Feel what?
She said, I don't feel this.
That's when I wanted to punch her as well. I was like, okay.
And then, he says, you promised I could touch you when I'm sober. And then, but I'm never sober around you, Pay. Never drunk on every detail. That is you.
Drunk in love!
At this point, do it already.
Yes.
And then if I kiss you, how I really want to kiss you, should I expect a dagger at my throat? And she said, find out. And then they get closer, and then a guard interrupts. hey, nothing happens.
No, this book is
never
squeaky
happens.
Clean.
It's so annoying. And that was kind of set up by the king. He like saw them or whatever and wanted them to go interrupt.
There's a chance of love. Stop that.
For real. And then we have the final trial, which is a maze essentially that kind of like moves.
The world's most fucked up maze. All right, that's what it was.
Like
a bunch of angry tree people being like, this way. Just kidding.
I picture it like the Maze Runner, where it like just shifts.
Here's the pathway.
Just kidding. And that's how it is. So
I have been waiting to talk to you about this.
And it's like, get through the maze, and at the end of it, you have to kill the person that's in the center because they're
No,
a traitor.
I cried.
Because they're a traitor to the kingdom,
And I'm
and
not
they must be
a
killed.
crier in a book.
Did you cry?
Yes.
Like, for real, for real?
Yes. Like there was tears. I was parked at the third pool of the day and just had to
Take a moment.
I was so upset. This whole thing. Buckle up.
I don't think I cried. I was sad, for sure. Like,
This
my heart
book,
dropped.
really moved me.
You were in it.
It was.
So during the final trial, Kai goes against his cousin, who's Andy, that we've concluded on. But he doesn't want to kill her, and so he knows that. She's like a shapeshifter thing.
She's the jaguar, right?
Yeah. And then, of course, Blair and Paedyn go against each other. It's very dramatic.
Always do.
Yeah. Paedyn ends up hurting her foot. It gets, like, crushed in a wall or something. The
was
way I pictured this was, like, it was mangled. Like,
yeah, I did too. I pictured, it's, like, turned this way. It's just not an unnatural way.
I literally pictured it, like, shredded.
Oh!
Well, because they talk about the vines and the thorns and things like that. Like, I pictured it, like, how are you walking?
Yep.
Anyway. But they get to the middle of it, and... Go ahead.
It's Aedena.
Aedena is in the middle of it.
Yeah, and, like, not just scared in there. Like, been tortured, beat up, tied up.
Yes.
Blindfolded.
And Paedyn is like, oh my gosh. And she goes running to her, and she's crying. They're both crying.
And this is why I hate Blair.
And, well, Aedena says, I'm so sorry. And Paedyn's like, what
are you sorry
what
about?
happened? Well, Adena's the traitor. Anyway, and Blair ends up killing Aedena, which ultimately makes her the winner, which I didn't understand, because she didn't win a single trial before this.
She didn't win anything. She didn't complete anything. She was never there first. She's not the fastest, and she's not the best fighter. But because she didn't even
land the final
physically
blow.
Do it either. That's what, and I know Paedyn had talked about that in the book, that she's a lazy fighter. Like,
yes.
That's why I don't like Blair.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna kill somebody,
yeah,
do it right, coward.
Inexperienced.
The first time I understand, but like by your fifth or sixth,
get it together.
I get that figured out.
But it's very dramatic. She's sobbing. She's crying.
It's
I'm
a
so
horrible,
sorry.
slow moment.
It's a very sad thing. And then Kai sees it happening. Aedena is also like all she has. So at the end of this, especially because she didn't win, she is expected to go back to the loot, and now she has nobody. Like, this is all she has.
Like, she should have just not made it either at that point.
Yeah.
And that's how she's kind of feeling.
Then Kai sees her, and, like, the arena kind of has, like, this bubble around it. And they look up, or Kai looks up, and he sees Callum in the king box. Like, the resistance has started to take over. The silencer are silencing all the people in the crowd and things like that. And Paedyn takes off, because she's like, I gotta get out of here. The resistance is here.
Oh, and remember, this is the part when Kitt is just staring
Looking
a
at
hole
her.
in her,
Yeah.
like,
I know it was you. And Kai puts that together, too, because she runs.
It was
like,
so
obviously.
sad. I was like, oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, no.
And because Kai was silenced that one time, he had been working with the silencer in the kingdom to understand that ability and be able
Learn
to
how
use
to stop it, too.
Yes.
Okay.
So what he ends up doing, in my brain, this is how I took it, is he connects with all the silencers that are there and, like, pushes back against them, and then they all, like, burst into flames.
He Uno reversed him. Okay.
Anyway.
I like it.
So this whole resistance thing didn't exactly go to plan. It's just a huge battle. A lot of people die, but ultimately they don't end up winning, I guess you could say.
Yep.
And then the king...
Well, because they didn't go about it the right way. Mr. Shady McShaderson decided to all of a sudden get real demanding and talk about how he's going to kill the king and the heirs when that was never part of the plan.
But then the king runs into Paedyn, and he, like, calls her out for being an ordinary and a traitor and a part of the resistance.
Paedyn is running for her life through the rain, and a fucking figure stumbles out.
Yeah.
And at first, I thought it was Kitt. I did. And I was like, oh, she's going to have to fight Kitt. Oh, no. And then I was like, oh, shit. No. The king? And the king is a brawny, right? So, like, he's really strong.
So. Yes.
And pissed.
Also, before this, she went back. She got her vest that Aedena made her. She got her things, and she got her foot healed.
Yep.
Anyway, just Just to clarify, she's healthy at this point.
Yeah, she thought quick and got ahead.
Yes. So anyway, her and the king have this whole knockout, drag-out fight.
It was quite the fight, too.
Yes.
Like,
and she's pissed. Like, this is also kind of that same aggression in the beginning. Yeah, with the silencer, like, that comes back of, like, he did all of these things. He ruined my life. He did, like, he ruined Kai's life. Like, he's tortured him, my father. Like, all these things are coming to the forefront of her brain. And at some point, he has the upper hand on her, and he carves an O in her chest for ordinary.
Horrible.
Yes, so she never forgets. And
who she is.
Yeah. It's a whole thing. Anyway.
He's a barbaric human being.
Yes. Because Paedyn is the master assassin, she ends up getting the upper hand, of course. Mm-hmm. And she ends up killing him. And she said, this is for me, this is for Aedena, and this is for my dad.
In all caps. Paedyn is a kingslayer.
Literally. And she ends up, like,
her and
stabbing
Jaime Lannister.
She ends up stabbing him with her dad's dagger. So it's,
that.
like,
so
kind of
poetic.
full circle. Yeah.
Just like you like it, tied up in a little bow.
Yes. But then she ends up, like, running. No.
Also, remember what he says.
Kai ends up coming out and is like, I should kill you.
As the king is telling her that it was Kai that killed her father.
Oh, yeah. No, Kai doesn't know that. He ends up coming out before the king dies. He tells him, who do you think killed your dad? She's like, I know it was you. And he's like, no, it wasn't. Mm-hmm. It was Kai, and that was the first job.
And like
that was the first job he ever went out on, as the enforcer.
Can you imagine the what the fuck moment for her?
Yeah, she's like, it's not true, and he's like, yes, it is, and she kills him. So then after that, then Kai comes out, and he's like, I should kill you. You're a traitor. You're part of the resistance. Blah, blah,
but
blah.
you hated your dad. Like, don't get all self-righteous all of a sudden, Kai.
It's still his dad.
Or Malachi, sorry.
Yeah, that's his actual name. He says, I'll give you a head start.
Which was sweet.
And you better run, because as soon as I catch you, I'm going to have the courage I need to do, like, what I have to do, essentially.
I don't miss.
Yes, but, like, he's so conflicted because it's Paedyn. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I don't want to have to do this, but I will, you know. And so she ends up taking off, and Kitt is now king, but he's really struggling with the death of his dad, and he essentially, in the book, says to Kai, bring me Paedyn Grey.
Mm-hmm. My enforcer.
Yes. And it's all,
yes, and he's all, yes, your majesty, and I'm like,
yes.
Ooh.
Yes. So that's the end of book 1, and now you can see why I immediately picked up the second one and was obsessed.
It's intense.
And I read the second one in a day, so that now I'm just kind of twiddling my thumbs till the third one comes out.
Glad I'm going to take my time then.
Yeah. Well, there is also a novella of Aedena, which I think in there you probably find out what she did.
Okay.
That made her a traitor, but I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
So, at some point I'll read that. And I think that one's called Powerful.
Oh, okay.
So, anyway, what a ride.
Yeah, we did it.
Do you have thoughts?
Not too much. Just I liked it. I did struggle. I don't know why I struggle to get into books. Like those first few chapters is
it's
like
hard.
pulling teeth with me. But it's always a good book.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it is. It's so hard to get me to commit.
Specifically fantasy series, though, because it's so much world building.
Yes,
where,
that's
like,
true.
I don't know what
the
any of this
moss-covered
means.
Tokens and the whatever this. Oh God.
Too much over explanation of something, but you kind of need it in the beginning.
Very important. It's needed.
Yes,
100%.
Like you have to understand what the loot is and who these people are, and like the difference between the two communities, the mundanes and the elites. Like,
true.
There's a lot of that, which, again, I think is needed. But I totally understand what you're saying. It's hard. It's hard to get into a fantasy series.
Here we go. Yeah, and then the whole time you're like, if I'm going to be investing this had better be good.
This has got to pay
This
off.
had better be good.
Yeah. Oh, hey, they never kissed throughout the whole book.
Yeah, there's not even a single god darn smooch.
There's like a whisper of it.
Yeah.
Before they're interrupted.
So, yeah, don't worry. This is like as G as it freaking gets. I don't think I've ever read such a...
Well, there's a lot of like killing and things like that, so maybe not G-rated.
Okay, yeah, I guess so. That's true.
PG-13.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, don't worry, parents. There's no smut to be found in here.
No. There's a lot of pining, though, which I think almost is better. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, when you're sitting there reading a book and you're like, oh my gosh. Like, that that is what gets me more than, like, just the, like, if it's too much, it's like, okay, moving on. Got it. I got it. You know, which sometimes I think the build-up is better than the actual. Anyway, my thoughts.
Okay, I like that, though.
Would you like to tell us what a fan cast is?
Fan cast is if Kylie or I were going to make this book into a movie or a TV show, like, who would we cast from actors, actresses, any kind of famous person you know? Who would you choose to be those characters? Mm-hmm. We kind of vary every month how many characters we do. It just kind of, like, depends on the mood or how we feel about it. So, like, this time I have, like, 5.
I have Kit, Kai, Paedyn, and Aedena.
Nice, okay.
4. You go first.
For Paedyn, I don't know her actual name, but the girl from the movie Atlantis. Have you seen that movie? The animated kids Atlantis. Okay. Yeah, the girl that gets discovered. Whoever, I don't remember her name. She's got white hair. Yeah, okay. That's like perfect. For Kai, I had Kit Harington. Okay. Because he's got dark hair.
Okay.
And then for Kit, I have a young Brad Pitt.
Okay, that's fair.
And then for King Edric, I have Charles Dance from Game of Thrones because he plays a perfect douche. And then
that's funny.
For Aedena, I have Emmy Rawson from Shameless.
Oh, okay. Yours are older than mine.
I always do that.
Yeah. Okay. So for my Paedyn Gray, I have Josephine Langford, who is from the After series. She
looks a lot like Amelia Clark.
She's sister with the girl from 13 Reasons. They're sisters.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So she did After, she did Knock Knock, she did the other Zoe on Amazon Prime. Anyway, you throw some silver hair on her, like, that's Paedyn Gray, to me.
Yeah, I can see that completely. She's so pretty.
With her eyes. Because they talk a lot about her eyes.
About the eyes.
And it's his favorite color, and he's never thought about that until now. And
I know, us brown-eyed girls never get a fucking moment, ever. Like, nobody ever.
Whatever. No, I was about to say something so mushy-gushy, never mind. Well, okay, I'll say it.
Well,
I was going to say, like, I've never really thought about it, but, like, Bash has my eyes. My son, he has my eyes. And, like, looking at his eyes, I'm like, oh, your eyes are so beautiful.
Pretty, right?
Like, it's in a weird way. Like, I would never look at myself and be like, oh, your eyes are so pretty. But seeing them in him.
You have beautiful eyes.
Seeing them in him, I'm like, it's gross. Anyway, moving on.
It is very sweet.
Okay, I have 2 for Kit and Kai.
Okay.
So my first Kit and Kai.
Okay.
Because I had the hardest time with this, because they're brothers.
I had a hard time, too.
Yes. So at first, I was like, Damon and Stefan from Vampire Diaries.
Oh, that would have been so good. Yep.
Yeah. Easy. The good brother, the bad brother, the lighter one, the darker haired one.
Yep.
Yeah. But then, like, as I got more in depth into it, I was like, I actually need people for this. So for Kai, I did Charles Melton. Like, that was Kai to me.
He's so symmetrical.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow.
And, like, that face, that look, like, that's an enforcer right there.
Okay.
And they talk a lot about him being darker than Kit.
Yes.
So I was like, he's darker.
We both chose, like, very different.
Yes. And then for Kit, I did Rudy Panko from Outer Banks.
Oh my god, that's perfect.
Because they both have, like, that really...
I forgot about him. I'm so sorry, bro.
They have, like, those very, like, strong jawlines. Mm-hmm. They're around the same age. Like, I feel like it could just work.
100%.
And then for...
I agree.
Yes. For Aedena, because my picture of the Hunger Games was so much heavily influenced, I did the girl who plays Rue in the Hunger Games.
Oh.
Amanda Stenberg.
Nice. Okay. Good
so
choice.
that was my Aedena.
Okay.
But yeah.
I had gone back and forth for Aedena being Zoe Deschanel. I was like, I kind of picture Jess sometimes, like, being goofy and witty and curly hair, and I was like,
So, do you have any final thoughts?
I feel bad that I don't, but it was just a really good book. Like, I really enjoyed this one because, like, no part of this podcast feels like a job to me, but sometimes I get a little bit like, okay, I need to keep moving. Like, yep, I don't have time to digest it. Whereas this one, like, I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed the shit out of it. It was really nice. It got me out of a book rut. I really like fantasy, like, for sure, because, I mean, you got me into Zodiac Academy, but that's the only, like, fantasy book I've ever read. And so it was nice to try something else, and I still liked it.
I think it's technically called romantasy.
Oh, okay.
So, and this is just kind of a subcategory because it's heavily romance in it.
Got it.
Because if we're going to be so for real, the Resistance don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care.
We don't care.
Moving forward,
true.
There's a trial. Stuff happens.
So, tell me again how Kai looked at her.
Moving forward.
Yeah.
So that, you know, it is definitely heavily
Final thoughts.
Kinda,
Can I get a kiss? Next book.
Anything.
Just a kiss, a handhold, something.
Please. Yeah. I would have liked a little something, but at the same time, like, it's YA. I can't really expect a whole lot.
That's true, but are we going to get, like, anything by the end? Like,
I can't say anything.
Even a marriage?
I can't say anything at all. I've read the second one.
You're like, can you please just read so we can talk?
But, yes. This is very much different than Zodiac Academy, which,
guys,
for everybody,
go read it. Go pick it up, read it.
Maybe don't. If you want it to ruin your life, yeah, sure, pick it up.
Yeah, you'll be
But
wrecked.
Zodiac Academy is so. This is kind of going off topic here. We're out of the boat. We're out of the boat here for a second. Zodiac Academy is so addicting. It's not even funny.
It's foul. Like, you can't.
And they're thick books. This is a quadruple cheeseburger of a freaking burger of a book. Like,
She's
it's insane.
With 4 C's, okay?
And you like can't stop. So, hey, everyone prepare to be sick of me. I picked it up again. So I'm halfway through book 7 and I'm about to be so annoying about it, and I know that. So, really sorry to Justin because he has to deal with it. And the end of every Zodiac Academy book is there's so much that happens that you're just like, and then sometimes, most of the time, you cry, and then you're trying to explain it to someone, and they look at you like you're crazy. So, hey, reading's so fun. I love it.
Yeah. Make emotional space for your reader friends or wives. Justin, make space for her.
He does, because I come in there hot.
He's like, okay, sure.
Right. And the dark element. Okay. Especially a fantasy book. You sound like you're insane.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, would recommend Zodiac Academy. Would also recommend Powerless. This was probably one of my favorite reads of the year. So far.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
The only book that I could say I enjoyed just as much was Archer's Voice and Royals Next Door. I really like those books.
We know.
Those are cute.
We know.
Sorry.
Susie's
Sorry,
her lover era. No, I did like those. I think I just read too much romance for those to kind of be top.
Got it.
So far has been this, Iron Flame, which is the Fourth Wing sequel. You haven't read yet, but we'll get there. And then The Women by Kristen Hanna, because that just ripped my soul out of my chest. So 2 fantasy and then 1 historical. Anyway, that was a long final thought. Sorry, rambled there for a moment.
It'd been a while.
That's all right.
Last time we didn't talk as much because we had a lot going on too.
Yeah, if you didn't catch the energy in the last episode, it was not. It was tired. I
felt so bad. I was watching. I'm like, oh, sorry, viewers. So I'm back to. I'll be better from here on out. Okay.
Hey, she's a trooper.
I was planning a wedding. My fiance was in the hospital last episode.
It was
Things
a lot.
were scary, so everything's fine now. And yeah, I'm fighting a man cold. So.
I mean, hey,
it sucks, but I'll be alright.
She got it from Bash. So,
yeah, it's a small price to pay to be an auntie.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes Auntie needs to watch him when he's sick. So this is just the repercussions.
Yep, strengthening that immune system.
We appreciate it.
Everybody, enjoy this book. Go give it a read.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll see you next time.
Yes. We'll be here. With men. They're poor souls.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't even know. Poor babies.
But pick it up. I think we're going to continue this on the podcast. If not on the podcast, we're going to do it outside of the podcast. Because you have to with that kind of ending.
Yeah, I can't just sit here and wonder.
No, definitely not. You can't. You can't do that to me. Also.
But yeah. Like, subscribe.
Share
follow.
it with somebody.
Yeah.
Hey, it doesn't hurt. We all have book besties.
Plus, you've got nothing to lose. They would just think we're weird, not you. They'd be
And
like, those people are so weird in the podcast. You'd be like, oh, yeah, I totally thought so. That's why I sent it to you.
Hey, we've accepted it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all right. But anyway, we'll see you guys next time. Bye!
This podcast was written and performed by Kylie and Susie.
And produced and edited by Connor Luther and filmed at the SDF Collective. To like keep it in line.
Yep.
Like if I didn't write out, it would be the biggest mess. We tried it before.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It was so bad. Like
It was
because
bad.
our brains are just. So
Yep.
I kind of like I have to keep an outline, or else we'd stay here for 5 hours.
This was cool.
Because
Yeah.
it's not just his dad who he has all this
100%.
animosity.
It's okay. That word's hard. Aminosity.
I didn't get a lot of sleep. Reading's so fun. I love it.
Yeah.